Hello, traders. Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday, October 5th, 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices again for a ninth week higher without a 2 or 3% pullback. XLV and XLU were super strong along with most sectors as we ended trading on Friday, leaving us with 14 bullish indicators for neutral and 2 bearish to start the week. Government shutdown is still in effect, so we'll have to be cautious to start Monday trading. We have the New York FANG starting to show some signs of consolidation. These leading stocks need to move higher this week if we're going to get a 10th week higher, with the S&P 500 already up nearly 40% from the April 7th low. That said, this run is similar to what we saw back in 2023, where we had 9 weeks up and then a pause and then another 10 or 11 weeks higher. Presently, since the April 7th low, we have 19 weeks up with only 4 periods of consolidation. Markets are super strong. Nothing says they can't continue higher, as this week we have very little news or data other than the government's shutdown, Red Book, and the FOMC minutes on Wednesday. The same can be said for the Qs, 16 weeks up. We did have a little bit more consolidation along the way since the April 7th low. Again, we'd have to go back to late 2023 to see the similar type of performance in the Qs and IWM. As you can see, IWM had a pretty good week, made a new high. Volume shows that institutions have been picking up shares and momentum is clearly bullish. So with 14 bullish indicators, 4 neutral and 2 bearish, we'll look for more strength as financial news media outlets are going to be hunting for things to talk about as we start off on Monday. Junk bonds did falter a little bit. That's one of our bearish indicators for the week. If this were to drop below the 50-day moving average at 97.30, that would indicate that we'll probably see some downside this week and some much needed consolidation. As a counterbalance, we did see biotechs much stronger last week, along with healthcare and utilities. With the latter focus, fixed income investors always looking for yields when the Fed is cutting rates, so I wouldn't be surprised to see utilities continue to rally this week. The 10-year yield is making a higher low. It did close near the lows of the week. And if we see a push through the 50-day moving average at 42, that would add another indicator bearish. For now, the 10-year is neutral. The dollar continues to bang out a range for the last 3 months. A move higher would put some pressure on U.S. equities. If the U.S. dollar stays down at these lows, that's good for U.S. equities and companies that sell products and services overseas. For now, this is neutral to bullish for U.S. equities. Brent crude and gasoline products did make a new low last week, driving lower into this sideways range for the most part, which appears a bit more obvious on a weekly chart. Brent crude and gasoline products lower is good for the consumer, especially going into the fourth quarter. As previously mentioned, sectors were pretty strong last week, especially with the biotechs, healthcare, and utilities, as tech, semiconductors, software, hardware all took a breather, but remain at recent highs. The communication sector was lower thanks to the weakness that we saw in Meta Friday into the close. Financials and industrials are holding their own. And with consumer discretionary, consumer staples ratio still rising, looking nothing like the 2022 bear market start or February of this year. Look for more upside though we most likely see a little bit of consolidation this week. Fingers crossed we might get a 10th week higher. Make a note that the IBD 50 continues to populate with a lot of gold stocks, precious metals doing very well. In addition, Argenx making new highs with earnings growth of 731%, revenue growth of 97%, improving the lives of people suffering from autoimmune diseases and cancer. The company reports again October 30th. Argenx looks like it could consolidate up here, but very strong nonetheless. Clean Spark from the Bitcoin group on the IBD 50 again this week. Fairly inexpensive name. 20 and 50-day cross 2 weeks ago. The stock hitting 16 on Friday. Look for a follow-through in many of those Bitcoin names that are also listed in the lower section of the monologue. Kineska Pharmaceuticals also strong, riding its 20-day moving average, as pharmaceutical and healthcare stocks are favored by investors of late. Life 360 still trending along its 20-day moving average, 20 and 50-day both rising. Look for a follow-through. Micron with a breakout last week, riding its 20-day moving average. A bit extended, but semis did manage to hold on to gains last week. NVIDIA hitting new highs on Thursday, consolidating a bit on Friday. Volume looks pretty good. We'll look for NVIDIA to continue leading the New York FANG group. We'd like to see those stocks moving higher this week to add a tailwind to U.S. equities. Overall, most sectors are strong, and we're looking for a follow-through. Oster, again, looking very strong, back above its 50-day moving average. Oster reports again November the 10th. They beat consensus estimates last time around, and the company has 28% earnings growth, 29% revenue growth. Overall, this company that produces LiDAR sensors and software solutions for automotive, industrial, robotics, and smart infrastructure industries, back above its 50-day moving average. RSI rising. Palantir was off last week. We'll see if this holds the 50-day or not. It might be a day trade or short-term swing. Still consolidating after building a cup and handle pattern. News on Friday that the U.S. Army noted a pretty severe glitch that most likely could be fixed with a software patch. So we'll see how that works out for Palantir in the short term. Riot at highs. Robinhood at highs and trending. And Rocket Labs looking very strong to end the week after it shows signs of breaking out of this 12-week base. RSI is rising, volume increasing, showing institutions are happy to accumulate shares, and MACD stochastics are bullish. Stoke Therapeutics also looking very strong in the healthcare group. Healthcare very strong. Watch your favorites in the healthcare group. We'll most likely see those follow through along with your favorite utilities. Tarsus Pharmaceuticals also had a very strong finish on Friday, breaking out to 52-week highs. Look for this stock to continue. Volume picking up, showing institutions have been accumulating shares for the last 3 weeks. MACD and stochastics are bullish. Finally, we've got Taiwan Semiconductor, looking for that to continue higher as well, as semiconductors held their own last week. Looking forward to a 10th week higher in the S&P 500. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, October the 5th, 2025. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and make sure you check out these names in the list below, especially the Bull Cross in orange, and all of the Bitcoin stocks and nukes. Most likely we'll see a follow-through on those names this week. Take care. We'll see you in the morning. Ciao.